now we'll continue with number 3. And I didn't mention it before, I don't think, but I would do these in the same order. If I chose to go a different way home from work every day, then I would never really get that muscle memory down to get home without a GPS like I always use. Well, not to get home from work. So with these, go through the same steps, label them. I would label vertical asymptote. The vertical asymptote is the domain restrictions. So we're going to use the factored form for the domain restrictions. All I need to do is look at the denominator and set the denominator equal to 0. Since I already have it factored, I'm going to use the factored form. It's easier. So again, those are the 2 values where there's vertical asymptotes. However, remember that you need to keep in mind that there is a hole at that -3. Because there's a hole at that -3, it's not a vertical asymptote. This one is the only vertical asymptote. When we graph the curve, you can see what the vertical asymptote looks like. Now for number 3, we look for the slant or horizontal. If the degree of the top is equal to the degree of the bottom, which it is, then it is the ratio of the lead coefficients. So it's just -1/4. And that's the horizontal asymptote. And just like estimate where it is, it's not going to be perfect at all. There's no slant asymptote. And number 4, step 4, the x-intercept. The x-intercept, remember, it's making the whole equation set equal to 0, which then we would multiply by the bottom and get rid of it. So it's 0 equals x squared plus 7x plus 12. So x equals -3 and x equals -4. But there can't be an x-intercept at -3 because there's a hole there. All right, so good thing is we know where the graph is going to be graphed at. The curve is going to be graphed. Let's do dark blue or orange. We haven't done orange. The y-intercept is when x is 0, so I'm just going to substitute x 0 in for all the x's, which is just going to be the ratio of the constants, if you can remember that. Because all the x's are going to go away. So if all the x's go away because they're zeros for x, then you're just left with the ratio of the constants. So 0, 1/2 is the y-intercept. I'm sorry, 0, -1/2. That is, so I was thinking it was 0, 1/2, which would be here, which wouldn't make sense because they're next to each other. So it has to be in that bottom right one. So -1/2 is below -1/4. And then we're just going to sketch it. You can graph it in your calculator just to make sure that it's right. And then that's it. So the hole, it's not a great thing, but the hole is going to be right there. And if you think I can't see it, you're just going to write hole. None of this is perfect. I don't want a perfect graph. I just want you to understand what the asymptotes mean. So now for number 4, again, we already found out that there's no hole because we factored it to the vertical asymptote. That's a nice easy one. It's x is equal to 2. The horizontal asymptote is division. So I'm going to divide because the degree of the top is greater than the degree of the bottom. This is the only case that you can divide. We don't need that remainder, so y is equal to 1x minus 1 is my slant. So now we're going to graph that slant asymptote. I start at -1 on the y-axis and the slope is 1. And then again, you can just like kind of sketch it. It doesn't have to be perfect for these. And you won't be able to get that line out of your Inspire. So that's why I don't mind when you use your Inspire. I think you should definitely use it. So now, sorry, just lost my train of thought. If the divisor wasn't linear, you would have to use long division. And I'm not sure if that comes up in this class. So for we need the x-intercept. The x-intercept, we set the top equal to 0, and we solve it, and we already factored. We don't have any holes, so both of these are x-intercepts. And it's good that they're like that because they're in the two quadrants. I'm pointing to them like you can see them, the two quadrants. And the y-intercept is setting or making x 0. So it's just the ratio of the constants. So it's -4 over -2 because all of those x's will go away. And then that's equal to 2. Oh, 0, 2. So I'm just going to sketch the graph. I don't know exactly what it looks like. I can graph it in my Inspire to make sure that it's okay. And that's all.